Okay, I'm just going to give you a kind of an explanation of this particular question, or these two questions. We have a situation where we have jumping rope. Kayla is jumping rope, and the rope touches the ground every time she jumps. And if she jumps at the rate of 40 jumps per minute, and that the distance at the very highest point is 5 feet, we want to be able to do some things and come up with a function that tells us this. So what we need to think about first is that we have, I'm just going to draw a little diagram over here. This is the ground, and we've got the jump rope that when it reaches its height like this, the highest point is going to be right here. The lowest point is when it touches the ground right here. And so this height from the ground is going to be, over time, as she is skipping rope, is going to, it first of all starts off at 0, and then it goes up, and then it goes back down again, and then it goes up and back down again, and it's going to repeat itself over and over. This is kind of what we call a periodic function. Now, being as that she jumps at a rate of 40 jumps per minute, then each time she jumps is going to complete one cycle, or basically it's going to go up and come back down. That's one complete jump. So if she does this 40 times in 1 minute, then each jump is going to take a certain amount of time, and that amount of time is called the period. It's the period of the function. We can find out what that period is by taking the number of jumps per minute, which is 40, and the number of, we'll say, seconds per minute, which is 60, and we'll come out with a period of 1.5 seconds. That means to do a complete jump takes 1.5 seconds. Okay? Now, when we're trying to determine this argument that comes in there after the sine or after the cosine, this value next to the t is called the k value, and the k value is going to be equal to the period 1.5 times k, and the period is always going to be 2 pi. So to find out what the k value is, we take this formula and then we divide both sides by 1.5, and we end up with 4 over 3 pi as our value for k. And this is the value that gets plugged in front of the t for our sine or cosine value. So since we know it's 4 over 3 pi, we know it can't be the first two problems. It has to be one of the last two. Now what we have to determine, though, is which one it is. And the additional information we have is that at t equals 0, at time 0, the height, or the h, is equal to 0. And if we plug in a t equals 0 right here, we want to know that h is also equal to 0. Well, if we put in a t equals 0 here, we're going to have h is equal to negative 2.5 sine, and since t is 0, this is going to be the sine of 0, or the sine of 0 degrees, plus 2.5. Well, the sign of 0 sign of 0 is always just 0. So that means that h is equal to negative 2.5 times 0, which is 0 plus 2.5. So if this were the correct answer, we're supposed to have a height of 0, but we end up with a height of 2.5. So this one cannot be the correct answer. If we do the same thing and plug 0 in for the cosine, we're going to end up with negative 2.5 times the cosine of 0. Cosine of 0 is always 1. So negative 2.5 plus 2.5 gives us an h of 0. So that shows that this is the correct answer. Okay, now looking at number 13, we want to be able to use that function to find the height of the midpoint after the rope reaches 32 seconds. Okay, a couple different ways we could do this. We could just use the formula outright and type in h equals negative 2.5 cosine of 4 pi over 3, and the t in this case is 32, so I would put in a times 32 here, or 32 over 1, if you will, plus 2.5. Okay, so I'm going to slide this calculation over here just a little bit because I want to bring in my calculator for you to look at. Okay, so when we're plugging this in, we want to go to, first of all, this is going to be, since we're using pi in the argument of the cosine, we're going to have to make sure that we have radians set up on our calculator. So if you go hit the mode button, you'll notice, go down a couple of places there, it's already fixed on radians, so we can clear that out. We want the cosine. We hit cosine, and it's going to be 4 pi times 32, which is 128. 128. Pi is the blue key over here right above the up arrow thing, so we go pi. We divide that by 3, close parentheses, hit enter, and we get negative 0.5. Okay, so if we get negative 0.5, that means that h is equal to negative 2.5 times negative 0.5 plus 2.5. And a negative times a negative gives you a positive. It gives you 1.25 plus 2.5, which is equal to 3.75. And that's this answer right here. Okay? Hope this video was helpful in explaining these questions that can be kind of tricky at times.